Right. Okay.
Richard.
Yes, Lucy.
Welcome to the Education and Festival. Festival of
Thank you.
Education. That's
Thank
the
you.
one.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
Enjoyed your day so far?
Loved the day so far. Turned up brilliantly organised as ever.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. I've been here once before in 2012,
Yeah.
and I think this is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
320 something speakers.
Yeah.
Got coffee, breakfast, did my talk. Just been doing some interviews and things.
Yeah.
And we're going to go and hear Terry Waite in a minute. So
Great.
brilliant.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, am I right in saying that you lived in the Republic of Congo for a period of time?
I did.
Yeah. And how has that affected your view of kind of the inequality in education from the third world to where we live right here?
What a great question. Wow, straight in there. Well, I mean, I went to the DR Congo. I did a very short spell in the army after school. I went out to Africa thinking I was going to help save the world for doing a 6-month gap year. Ended up staying 6 years instead of 6 months. And I was in the remotest of the remote areas, really. No running water, no electricity. So in those days, no internet, nothing, no mobile phones, nothing. I had communication with the outside world once every other day if I could get it.
Wow.
15 minutes via a sort of high frequency radio link if I was lucky, and that's it. Letters sort of dropped by plane once every month. It was pretty remote stuff. And the education there was one secondary school where teachers were unpaid for months on end, teaching basically by rote, and it was very, very gritty, tough stuff. And you know, I was saying in my talk this morning that somebody asked me a question about why are children trafficked to Britain and Europe, and I was trying to put a positive message to it, saying, well, actually, sometimes children are sent away because families are desperate to get them properly educated.
Yeah.
You know, so the inequality in education is massive. You know, between where I was in Belobo and here at Wellington College it is just another universe.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
Yeah.
parallel, it's a different universe. And so of course parents or families are going to want to send their children back and get them
Absolutely.
properly educated.
Yeah. And how is it that you think, do you think we have a greater responsibility to make more of an effort to make that inequality lesser?
I do. And I think this is where the private sector, if you like, can
Yeah.
have such an important role, because we tend to think, oh God, it's all government's fault.
Yeah.
Government has to do this and that. But actually, a college like Wellington, and Wellington does do this, but the formative great public schools can have a massive impact. And of course, that has a return, fantastic effect on the education of the pupils.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think parents, fee-paying parents, will mind if, you know, a certain number of pupils are enabled from some poor countries to have education, because they're going to enrich the wider education of the pupils
absolutely.
here. And I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, I was lucky enough to go to a school which very much believed in all-round education, and I think that we would have been massively enriched by, you know, if the school had been able to offer some scholarships and bursarships to kids from some very poor areas, from both Britain and further afield. I think it would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think this is a role that can be played. And of course, some schools are doing it.
Yeah. You were talking today about your work in child abuse and what you've come across, I believe.
Yeah.
The issues that have come up recently, obviously, with the kind of allegations against, football clubs and schools and this kind of historic abuse. Do you think that kind of abuse still goes on? Because I think there's kind of a view in the public that it doesn't, and that it doesn't happen anymore. Do you think it still does to the same extent that it was, happening 40, 30 years ago?
I do think child abuse is still going on, and I do think, I definitely do, and there are loopholes. And for example, I work a lot in with the religious organisations because of the cases I get involved in, and I definitely think that child abuse is taking place. And it's extraordinary that in education, we're very strict about child protection policies within schools and education, where things are generally much better. But when it comes, for example, to religious places of worship, like mosques or churches, they're unregulated, and it's not mandatory, but it's self-imposed child protection, and that is deeply worrying. I mean, I think it should be mandatory that all churches and mosques should have to go through child protection, and it should not be self-policed.
No.
So I do think child abuse is going on, and in terms of historic cases, we still have a role to play in investigating, and I've been involved recently in the Ted Heath and Westminster VIP inquiries. And that's been a big area. But, the trouble is the legacy of child abuse, and I don't mind saying this, I'll say this openly now, that in my talk I said straight to everyone that I myself am a survivor of child abuse, and teacher got 10 years for it. And it was horrific. From the age of 9 to 13, I was horrendously abused by a teacher. And the trouble is, you know, and it sounds trite, but the legacy of abuse on just one child is so massive that we do have a duty to investigate and to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. And especially because paedophiles are prolific and do typically try and groom multiple, you know, children. They tend, that's one of their modus operandi. They try and, you know, get more than one child down through the years, and you know, the impact it can have on just one child is too much. So we do have a duty to do it, to investigate.
How has your personal experience affected how you approach cases of child abuse?
I suspect, though I only recently owned up to this, I suspect the only reason that I began working in child protection is because of what happened to me. And I think that's one of the reasons I've been motivated in life to try and help others, is because of what happened to me. The irony of this, and I'm being very frank now, the irony of this is that the one person that I didn't help was myself. So for 30 odd years or whatever, I have been running away from myself in order to help other people. And 4 months ago, I, for various reasons, for the very first time, started to see a psychotherapist for counselling, and I've had weekly counselling since. And it's the first time I've confronted, you know, the need actually to heal myself, not just to help other people. It has certainly given me, I think, an empathy for the effects on other people. I mean, I don't personally think a great deal about myself, but to think that I can help other people is a massive inspiration. And that, you know, that's something that really fuels me.
Great. Thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thanks, Lucy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you. Thanks.